Okay, so I suppose it's time for another universal credit update. What has changed? Nothing has changed. They have continued to book and rebook, book and rebook, book and rebook the meeting where they say I have to show them evidence of my savings. I do not have to show them evidence of my savings because I am no longer a UC claimant. That said, I am still stuck in the system and I keep getting these messages telling me I need to submit my my income and outgoings. Interestingly enough, someone mentioned in a comment not so long ago that once you have 6 months of zero payments on UC, they will close your claim. And the one that they are chasing me for now will be 6 months, even though they told me my claim was going to be closed on the 16th of October last year. So if I do this 6th one and they tell me I'm no longer eligible for universal credit, are they going to close it? Because they didn't close it last October when they were supposed to close it. And if they do close it this time, where does my journal go? Because presumably that will all disappear. And I'm keeping this open because I am still chasing the complaint. So I had to chase them on the 28th of February because it's now been 24 days since I sent my complaint. And surprise, surprise, I've heard nothing. Nothing at all. So I'm keeping all of this open because although I take screenshots of everything as evidence so they can't get rid of any of it, at their end, the only way they can see the history of what I've asked for, what I've done, what's happened, is on that journal. And I'm pretty sure that everyone can access that journal. So I need that to remain in place because otherwise it makes the system a lot more difficult for me to navigate because I will no longer have, for better or for worse, an online easy email system. It's going to become letters and photocopies of screenshots, and it's going to be phone calls and regular emails, and it's going to make it worse. So I am hanging on as long as I can to hear what's happening with this complaint. That is the only reason I am stringing this out as long as I am. I should not be in the universal credit system. They told me last October, you are no longer eligible for universal credit. And I have asked them, why have you not closed this down? And they will not answer me. And I have asked them about why I need to declare savings when I am no longer a universal credit claimant. They don't answer my question. They just see what they have to do. So they keep rebooking my meeting where I'm supposed to present them with all my financial history, everything, even though I've already told them I am not eligible for universal credit because I have more than the amount of savings I'm allowed to have. I've told them that. I volunteered that when I started my universal credit back in August 2023. I presented all of that to them as evidence because I needed that, because that was the year of my claim, because I was on the protected year. I still, even though it was a protected year from the working tax credit crossover, I still had to present that information to prove to them that I have too many savings for universal credit, even though I get universal credit for a year. That is the rule. It is not illegal. I have not declared my savings. Somebody keeps saying that I have to do it legally to claim UC. And for that year, I did. I did everything they asked. I brought in all the paperwork. I spent days putting it all together because of all the bank accounts I had, because they wanted so much evidence, and I did it all. The year came to the end. I knew that I was no longer eligible for universal credit. I had my last work coach meeting in the August, and she said, right, you are no longer eligible. We're going to sign you off. And she cancelled my next meeting. And then it kind of sat there. and I then chased about the interest that I'm trying to get back on that year when I did claim and didn't hear anything. And now I'm getting all this, you've got to keep putting in your claims. You've got to give us all your information, or your private banking information. They've already told me that a decision maker has said, I am no longer eligible for universal credit. You do not get universal credit anymore. And yet they keep asking me for the information. So I'm just letting this ride, because eventually, surely, somebody's going to cotton on and go, hang on a minute. And that's why I'm letting this go, because the longer this debacle goes on for, the more backup I have for my complaint about how incompetent the system is. So that's really, I'm letting them dig themselves their own hole here. And I am hanging in there until the last, until I get a final on what's happening about the interest. Apparently, all they need to do is to reset the claim for the months where I wrongly declared interest. I put in the numbers again, it reassesses, and it'll tell me how much I am owed, presumably owed, and they'll pay me because I was covered during that year. That was all legal and above board. But they can't seem to do that. Nobody seems to be able to press that button that says reset these months. And I had a universal credit person tell me that that's what they needed to do. So why hasn't it been done? I don't know. I've asked. I said, if that's all that needs to be doing, why doesn't someone do it? And nobody answered me. You never get answers to actual questions. If they send you something like a demand for your income and your outgoings, a demand for you've got to come to this meeting, they expect you to respond. So if I then respond to, say, a meeting and say I can't do this because I have work, because they keep booking them on work days, or the one that they did have booked that I could do, they then cancelled on me because for some reason the entire office was shut down, even though they were still able to answer messages. If it's their question, they will respond in that respect. If you ask a question, nobody will answer you. And they don't seem capable of looking beyond their own little tiny box. Now, I know that they can see everything because when I've been into work coach meetings, she has sat there and scrolled through my journal history when I have referenced something and she's gone back to the date. So they can see everything. They just choose not to solve this problem. And honestly, I think they're just getting a laugh out of it. And I am going to keep hanging on here. I'm not going to give up on this. So I have now chased, why has my complaint not been responded to? They're supposed to give some sort of response in the first 15 days about what's going to happen. What are they going to do? Is it going to be resolved? Whatever. I've had nothing at all. Absolutely nothing. So I've sent that message and said, come on. And if they don't respond to that, I shall message them again and say that I am escalating this up to the next level. Because the problem is, if I don't respond in the right way, if I don't respond following their rules, they'll say I haven't done it properly. So I am not fanning the flames of this. I'm doing everything by the book. The system tells me I shouldn't be in the system. Therefore, I am only replying to the things that I believe that they are entitled to. They are not entitled to see the last 3 statements of all my bank accounts as they stand now, because I do not have a universal credit claim. And the reason I'm getting zeros on those income and outgoing claims every month is because I'm not eligible for it. They've told me this. So why don't they just shut it down? The system just doesn't work. They're making more work for themselves because I shouldn't even be there. And the only reason I'm there is because this is the only form of communication I currently have. So I'm going to give them a week, and if I get no response, I'm going to tell them I'm escalating the complaint because it's just trash. The whole system is utter trash. They are tick box people. They don't think outside the immediate task they have to do because they don't care. Nobody wants to resolve anything. And I know from when I have been to work coach meetings and been sitting there waiting, and I can hear them all commenting and talking to each other in the background. So I know what the attitude is because I've heard it myself. They don't realise you're listening, but I was listening, and it's not nice. So I've done this bit. Now I'm going to wait a bit and add on if anything happens. Talk to you in a week or so, who knows. So here I am again, still trying to make sense of the UC online journal. They keep sending me meetings because they want to see all the intimate details of my savings, which they're not entitled to. I keep telling them I can't make the meeting. They keep rebooking them. I tell them I can't make it. They keep rebooking it. And then I had one where they then, instead of just keep rebooking them, I wondered how long I could keep this going for. It's like a game of cat and mouse. And eventually someone said, well, when can you make the meeting? And it took me a while, well, not a while, but it took me a little bit of time to respond because the system crashed. The whole thing went down. Don't know what was going on there. And then I went back and I said, well, I'm waiting for confirmation on some work meetings and things like that because I've always got things in the pipeline. I never know exactly when I'm going to be free for things. And I'd let them know. So they booked me another meeting anyway. And it's just a joke. It's just never ending. And of course, I still haven't had any sort of response to my complaint, which I have chased. So I researched how I can bypass the journal on this, and I found the main system for where you can put a complaint in to DWP about universal credit. So I've done it directly now. So it's now off journal, and they have my email and my phone number. So we'll see what happens with that. And I've lost track of how long it's been since I sent them that complaint. It's been over a month and a half at the time of me recording this, and I have chased it and nobody's answered because the journal's just useless. If they don't want to answer, nobody has to answer. There's no comeback on that if they don't respond to things. So I've had it with them. So I've gone direct to the main system and we'll see what happens there because I absolutely refuse to give up on this now. So I've complained about the not being given the information to do the process for the interest payments, presuming I'm owed something. But I've also complained about the inability of anyone using the journal to answer questions and things like that. So that's how I feel about that. So that's the second instalment of this update. There may be something to add because I feel like I just keep posting updates now of nothing happened. But hopefully I will be able to add something to this at some point, and then we'll have one update for the whole of March, and then we'll see what happens in April. So the absolute joke that is universal credit and the journal continues and never ceases to surprise me. Never changes. Today is the 22nd of March, so I think it's a month to the day since I first started recording this episode of my Universal Credit saga. And for pretty much all of the last month, I have been constantly unbooking meetings that they keep booking for me to present all my savings details to them, which, as I keep saying, they are not entitled to because I am no longer a UC credit claimant, although they still don't seem to be able to realise this. And they've also been chasing me for the latest income and outgoings, even though I am not a UC credit claimant. So that came through on I think it was the 20th of February, and I've just not bothered to answer it, because if you don't answer them, if you don't fill in that information on time, nothing happens. I left mine for 3 or 4 months before I started filling them in. And then I thought that, I should probably just tick all the boxes to keep them happy because of this complaint I put in. And the complaint I put in, which I think was on the 5th of February, and then had to follow up with another complaint because I wasn't getting anywhere with that one. And I talked about that in the last bit. But today something has happened. So I had yet another booking and unbooking of a meeting for me to present my 3 months of banking statements, which are not entitled to. And I had a flurry of little messages. So then there was another one where they had then cancelled it and then rebooked it even later because I'm going away. And then there were several messages saying you've got a message on your journal that you need to look at. And one of them was chasing again that last month's income and outgoings. And the only reason I haven't responded to that one is because that'll be the 6th one that I've filled out. And because someone said that once you've done 6 of those with no money, like they haven't had to pay you anything, they shut down your claim. And I want to keep that journal open and my claim open as long as possible in that respect, because this is the only way I have to contact them. And then I was looking at this and there were several of them, and I was just thinking, why are there so many? And then I saw one that had a different date on it. And I didn't register at first what the date was. I thought it was last year's date. And I thought, that's weird, they've made a mistake. And then I looked, and I've realised that they have sent me a request to re-put in my income and outgoings for my first ever month of universal credit. Now, I've mentioned a couple of times about how if you have made a mistake on a past claim and you're asking for a reimbursement, or it could be the other way round if you've not claimed enough expenses, all they have to do is reset the months, and you can go in and put your income and your outgoings in again, and it'll rebalance, and then they'll readjust, and if you're owed anything, they'll pay it to you. And I've realised that this is the first of those months that I need to reclaim the banking interest on. So I think that after six weeks today, since I put my first complaint in, and considerably longer ago than when I actually requested for this to happen, because I asked for this last August, I think it was, they might actually be actioning this now. Now, I've only had one through, so presumably now I've filled in the first one, the others will follow, and as I do each one, the next one will follow until it's done. Now, I won't get any money back on this one because I had earned a lot of money on that first month of universal credit anyway, so I was over the allowance for income anyway, so I won't get anything from this one. But let's hope that I will start getting subsequent months, because I need to redo this interest problem up until May 2024. So they've done the first one, which is the August-September claim for 2023, and now they should go through each one. But maybe I've had a breakthrough. Do you think that they've finally sussed what I've asked them for? So I'm going to leave this here because I really need to get this video out. It's taken me such a long time to put this one together. And I will update you when this is, if this comes to fruition. Because once these claims have come through and they've done the readjustment and paid me anything that I'm owed back, I can kiss goodbye to this system forever. Hopefully, anyway. I would like to get out of this system. And maybe it's easier than I think. Anyway, so I'm going to leave that here. We have ended, for the first time in a long time, on a positive note. And I'm kind of excited about it. So I'll update you as soon as I have any more information. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.